I hope. Yes.
That's great. So, very short introduction about ourselves. We both are trainers, we are peer workers. We know each other also as co-founders of NijsKoen. A little bit more about ourselves, maybe. I'm now retired 5 years. I spent my life on working on rehabilitation and recovery, and in a way still do. And I worked for a long time already with Tom. That's you?
That's me, yes. I met Dirk about 11 years ago. Then we became colleagues in training. I had an ID where Dirk was helping me out. And in the end, it became NijsKoen. And we're very proud of it.
Short summarization, what we'll do, we'll talk about the creation of our community in Helmond, the founding principles. We will share with you some more experience about other initiatives which are alike this, but somehow different and somehow the same. What are essential factors, and how can we sustain what we have? This is more or less the continents of what we do. We will share experience, so please don't let me talk too much. Intervene anytime you want to in between when you have questions or remarks or other experiences. And it's better that we share experiences than that one or two persons only talk. So let's roll. Let's roll. Do you recognize this?
Hardly.
Hardly.
Yeah.
That was the state we found NijsKoen, how it was. Could you compare it with?
Very clinical.
Very clinical surroundings, but still we saw the potential of it, which came out later. Yes, please. One question could be, you have a lot of different names. On recovery, what do they have in common? What are different ones? I don't know whether you have these in your countries, but probably the most famous is a recovery college. We discovered that when we were in London a lot of years ago. And in fact, the participants here are students. A living museum is a place where people recover by making arts, and their participants are artists. And a recovery learning community like NijsKoen is a place where people can do anything they want, and the participants are participants. So this is a first way of dividing the different initiatives. Do we have anything to?
Yes, where it says participants are artists. We focused on giving people other roles. Sometimes people have not too good roles, and you can draw, and that's fine. But we made sure they could show their works, what they made. So they became artists. So instead of you're that person with that illness or that trouble, you're now that person who is an artist, and that does a lot to people.
Yes, that is probably the most essential keyword, the role that people get in all these initiatives, although they are at some level different. Anyone want to add something or ask something? Okay. Possibilities come all the time. Yes. Well, what do they have in common? We also saw what they have in difference. The roles are a bit different. What do they have in common? I like to compare it with an oasis. Tom, later on, I started to think of NijsKoen more and more in the concept of an oasis, a place within a raw world where you can have other experiences. And that is what all these sanctuaries, I think, have in common or should have in common. And they are mostly driven by peers, some 100%, but the peers are the most important group of people there. Yeah, you were in London and you told me that the initiative there were good for the neighborhood. Can you say something about it? Like core arts.
Yes, when it started there, was Beek.
What?
Was Beek.
Neighborhood.
Yeah, the neighborhood had a bad name. And then, well, it started, but people went out, they reached out. So, and now it's a very popular neighborhood because they all joined.
Yes. So the point is, one and one together is not two, but it is three. When you have a good quality initiative, all participants benefit, also the neighborhood itself. So I remember when we started Nijskoen, one of the very angry neighbors said to me, "My house is losing value because of you." And I bluffed because we didn't have anything more by then, but I bluffed and I said, well, wait a couple of years and your house will be more worth because it's in this neighborhood. So that's what we strive at, to enhance the quality of the neighborhood as well. And I like all this variety in all these different types, living musea. I visit a lot of them in Holland, and in a way they're all different. And I like the variety because recovery is variety.
And yeah, about Oasis, what I experienced myself at Nijskoen, and I heard it back quite a lot, that we said in between these walls, we understand each other and we understand how it goes. But the minute we walk out of the place, it's a big world. We didn't understand. I didn't understand. So that's, yeah, you really feel it. It's not just how it looks, but you feel it.
Okay, thank you. Move on.
Yeah, can you say one more sentence about the sanctuary?
Yes.
Why is it a sanctuary?
Well, I don't know how you interpreted the word, but the sanctuary in the meaning of this is a free place, a place where people with all kind of backgrounds can come without being judged. That's a sanctuary.
Yeah, it's more like a shelter than a place where you worship something.
Yes, but it has a kind of spiritual is maybe too big, but spiritual meaning, a sanctuary, it's I wouldn't call it a sacred place because that is religious, but it's a place that everyone should respect. That's the place where people can be as they are and not be judged and not be valued.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. Thank you very much. So now we come to specifically first Nijskoen. Do you know how did the name emerge, Tom, Nijskoen? You were at the founding of this.
Yes, I wanted it to have a word in the dialect of our own town. I love my dialect. Dirk tries to speak it, but he can't. And Nijskoen is translated to new shoes. And we didn't want to have a clinical name, but just a free name. And the thought behind it is, on new shoes, you can carry on. You can make a new pathway.
So it's a metaphor for what we tried. At the beginning, we had no real idea whether it worked. We rented a building for 5 years. And we had money for 1.5 years. And we had made all kind of promises to all kind of parties without really knowing for sure that we were going to make it. But we did make it, and Nijskoen became a beautiful place, I think. And these principles here are very important in that we were the city of Helmond asked us to connect to 150 vulnerable people in Helmond that the other organizations could not connect to. So they're floating through the city and never find a good place. And we did it by saying everybody is welcome. So we did not want to be connected to a certain target group, vulnerable people, lonely people, alcoholic. We just wanted to be open for everybody in the assumption that these 150 vulnerable people would come, and they did. So this is one of the main principles. Everybody is welcome. Also the children from the neighbor and my grandmother. One other aspect, which is a difference between the recovery college, is, of course, Nijskoon delivers workshops and things like that, but we think you can learn of everything. So when the mayor is visiting us, we involve as much as participants as possible to meet her and to connect to her, because you can learn how to deal with the mayor at Nijskoon. So everything for us is a kind of learning experience, and not only the regular workshop and things like that.
And to add on that, it's not only you can learn of everything, but as well you can learn from everyone. So if you got a skill that you can teach, we invite you to teach it. And then again, it comes in a change in role, because then you're a teacher. And yeah, that works as well.
Yes, a very important aspect. One element of a sanctuary is that it's a stigma-free meeting place. Because what does that mean? It means that people can come there and they leave the stigma from other people that other people give them behind. So it means we have a real live coat rack where you not can only hang your coat, but also on paper, all the labels that are connected to you. We do not want you to bring a diagnosis into Nijskoon. We do not want you to bring judgments into Nijskoon. We do not want you to bring any labels into Nijskoon.
And no titles.
No titles. Everybody is on first name basis, also the mayor. And to connect it with that, we guarantee absolute anonymity. We will never give any information about anyone to anyone. Yes. We have no rules. We work with traditions, and traditions come from self-help groups, and traditions are much broader, because traditions are more like things you say about how you want to connect to each other and to the world. So a rule is digital. It's yes or no. You cannot or you must. Traditions doesn't have that element in it. They give you a direction. And to give you an example, the first tradition is our general welfare is always more important than the individual welfare, which practically means the safety of the environment is very important. So if people have a kind of behaviors that are in kind of violation with that, on basis of tradition 1, we talk to them and we discuss it, and we help them to adjust within the environment of Nijskoon. So traditions are very powerful things for us. That's the code track. So you see, it's a physical thing. You can write anything on the labels to the left and then put them on the right. And I don't know whether it's only with us, but we have the screen with the faces over the text. Or can we move that, Tom? Oh, you can move that. I didn't say anything. Now I can see better. Yes. Questions, remarks, experiences, songs.
Is it easy for your visitors to work with those code racks, just to really leave something at the threshold of Nijskoon?
Yes, it's also, but it happens when you really invite people to do it, and it's also encouraging when you do it yourself. So that's where it starts. One of the main principles of an initiative like this is, if you want people to do certain things, you must do them yourself. So that also means you are all of equal value. Nobody is above any law. There is no law, but in this case, what goes for me also goes for you. And this helps people. And if you do not pay attention to it, probably people, visitors wouldn't see it or do it. So you have to bring people to it. But it's also metaphoric. People can also without writing it on a label, leave their label behind.
And it brings a feeling of safety as well. That means if I'm inside of Nijskoen and I'm in a conversation and it starts to begin about difficulties in my life, which I don't want to talk about, only thing I have to do is point in the code rec and says my problems are over there. They're not now with me.
Yes, we never spoke about that, but I would think that of the things that really work at Nijskoen, the code rec is probably the most important, or one of the very most important, because it makes very practical and clear what we stand for and how we want to deal with each other. And it's also possible, I did it several times, that when a person had very, let's say, difficult behavior, and that can happen with the people that come with us, I went for them to the code rec and invited them to write down their anger or whatever they had. So it also helps to work with actual things. And it has never led to any aggressive situations within Nijskoen. We never experienced that. We could also always solve it in another way. So this I can encourage very much to everybody to work with, because it's so practical.
And of course, it's anonymous what you write down.
Yes.
So unless somebody recognizes the handwriting, nobody knows what you wrote down.
Yeah. Can I ask about? I can imagine when the center in, for example, our center would be people with some psychiatric issues. Sometimes it's very difficult for them to leave it outside, because they are very much, after long hospitalization, for example, they are very much part of it, and they are sometimes afraid of, what am I if I don't consider myself being a patient? You know what I'm, so this might be like what I would expect as a difficulty trying to do this code rec trick in our center.
It's of course more than a trick. It's a kind of philosophy.
Sorry.
How to do it. And yes, but I think I understand it completely. But I think psychiatric behavior in Holland is not so very much different as it is in Czech Republic. And of course, if a person is constantly 24 hours screaming all day, it's not possible for him to be in a location like Nijskoen. But the other part is, I think organizations like Nijskoen should have a much broader tolerance for this kind of behavior. I know one guy, Wim. He came to us and he lived in a psychiatric hospital. And every time he came with us, he came with his motorcycle and he put it down on the next to the Nijskoen, and he started to scream and in his telephone. And he literally, but the foam was on his mouth. And it took for months. And every time we went out and said, please be quiet, we're in a neighborhood, we have children here. And later on, he really quieted down. And there became a period that the people who knew him couldn't imagine him as being the one he was. He was an intelligent, warm, friendly man. But it took us half an hour to come to that. But we had to tolerate his behavior in a certain kind or for a certain moment. So that's the other side. You cannot be too strict. It asks a kind of wisdom.
And more about your question is what Dirk mentioned earlier. We do it first. I have quite a lot of diagnosis. So when I explain the code rec to someone, I would say, look, this is what I wrote down. So and that's a good thing while there should be peer workers. Yeah.
Yes, you can imagine this in organizations where not everybody is a peer worker, but where also peer workers work, and where you still use it as a kind of, physical way how you want to work here. And well, I should say give it a try. So, more questions, remarks? If not, we can.
Sorry.
Yes.
Do I understand this well, that this is basically like a daily ritual that you do in your center to just like get in touch with what's currently going on and just leave it all, or like at least try to leave it all behind and like release from it as you're entering your center, or did I get it wrong?
Well, it's not a daily routine. It's especially the first time people come, and sometimes we do it again. But it's not a daily routine. It's of course a way of introducing the philosophy of Naiskun from the beginning.
But of course, you could do it.
Yes.
If it helps you, if you're sad, and if it helps to write down, I'm sad, and I leave it at the door, so inside I'm not sad anymore. Basically, it's just plain sad. You do it daily. It's okay.
You could do it as a kind of recovery activity. Say goodbye to nasty things. I know a way that people have a kind of workshop and putting the negative things on a paper, on a balloon, and then let the balloon fly. That's another way. You can think of all kind of ways to do this. But it all has the same goal, to free your mind in a way from the disturbing things, to get your mind clear for the important things.
Okay, and do you look at those paper to like know what's going on, or is it completely?
No, I think we put them in a box, but we never go through them.
Okay, thank you.
It's not information that we need. It's for the people who come there. So we don't need to read.
Okay, let's move on, Martin. Si possible. Now he has to move it again to the other side. Well, and some more words about traditions. They come from the self-help groups, especially the 12-step self-help groups have also traditions, and we love them, and we try to translate the traditions from a self-help group to a recovery facility, because these are different things, of course. As I explained, it's not about rules. Rules are digital. Rules is what you should do or you cannot do. And a tradition is much broader. It's an essential element of how you look at the world as a facility. And it gave us direction in several ways. One of the traditions was we do not engage in public discussions. Well, in the beginning of Naiskun was very much the subject of public discussions in the papers, and also, of course, in the digital versions of the papers. People talked very negative about us, but we never did anything with it. We just ignored it. And within 3 months, it was gone. So this was also a tradition that helped us to keep a good line. Okay, questions? Yes, you can move on. We put the traditions into all the slides, and we don't have to work with them all, but it gives you an idea of what these traditions look like. You see, it's also kind of mission statement. This is who we are.
And with point 3, it's the same as the code rec. We did our thing first. For example, I'm a musician, and basically I play music every day because it's my passion. So then other people come in, they see, and oh, can I do that? Yeah, of course. Work on your passion.
Yes, that's an also important point, Tom, because when we started it, we deliberately did not organize any activities for the participants. We only did what we like to do ourselves, but nothing more. And that because if you do the opposite, then people have to choose from what there is already, and they do not choose what they really want to do. So that's a very good point.
Yes.
We understand it's a big question for someone, because the answer, well, what can I do here? Our answer was, what do you want to do here? And that's an answer that people are not used to. But wait, can I do anything I want? Well, if it's in the law, if you're not across the law or something, if it's not illegal, please do. If you need something for that, if you want to draw, we get the paint for you. So you can do anything, but it's a big question for someone.
Exactly. This is what I wanted to ask you, because I can imagine, especially in our country, people are not very often encouraged to do what they want to do. They are most of the time pushed to do what they don't want to do. And yes, so this is what a very powerful principle or tradition, I would say, and very difficult to promote or to live that tradition in everyday's life of our center, I can guess. Or if
yes,
you can
and
tell something about it.
Keep your expectations as open as possible. I was with Kees in Croatia, and we had a tour through the whole country, and we were in one facility what was more like a kind of psychiatric nursery home. I think the people also were quite close, but I'm not sure. But it was more like nursing people who are very vulnerable. And when we came there, Kees and me had a presentation, and we said we want the clients there, and we want staff there, and we want the manager there, everybody. And then they say, okay, we will invite the clients, but don't expect too much, because they are living here for several years and they don't have any initiatives anymore. And when we came, we started with Kees. He told his life story, and all the clients stood up and applauded. And in the whole meeting, they were very active, and a lot of them showed they spoke very well English, nobody knew, and things like that. So these things that you do can help people and unleash their potential they have. But of course, in your countries was held down for so long, but they are there still. Okay, show the other 5 maybe, Martin. Very good, Tom. Dat doe ik. Ik heb het uit afwisseling gedaan. So read them, and if there are any questions or comments, please let them come.
6, tradition number 6. What do you mean by that?
Well, this is also one that, of course, comes from the self-help groups, for which it is more important. It's about the complete that they are on their own feet and have no financial or whatever ties to. For Nijs Koen, it was not such a big thing, and the other thing, Nijs Koen was not really complete self-supporting as well. Of course, we had money from the government. So I think on these 2 points, some adjustments could be made.
And the thing about the money we got from the government was very welcome, but we got it on our terms. In the beginning, there were some difficulties. They wanted us to do things they wanted to, how they wanted to do, and we had other thoughts. So in the first time, we gave the money back, and it was quite a lot of money. But then they changed, and they said, okay, we're still gonna give you the money, and you do it the way you want to do it. They didn't understand how we were gonna do it, but it was very nice to get it on our terms.
Yeah. You must realize the question. What do you think that the question is that is asked the most in the beginning at Nijs Koen? Have anyone any idea? From the people who didn't know anything about a facility like this, like also not the city. Any idea?
Tell the question once more. I didn't catch it quite.
What do you think that was the most asked question to us in the beginning? What did people ask us the most frequently? How's Koen? How do you think you are going to keep the peace with all these irregular people and these addicted people and maybe people with psychotic problems and other people we don't want in our neighborhoods? And we have the city asked it as well as we applied for the project. And here we also bluffed. We said we will create an environment that is so good of quality that there's no need for this kind of behavior. And as it happened, it exactly came this way. That we had our share of difficulties with difficult participants or disagreements between participants or whatever. But it never led to an uncontrollable, aggressive situation. The only time policemen visit Nijskoen is to drink coffee for 6 years. So that is your aim, to make a facility that people will not have the need to do so, or people who have the need to do so have the feeling this is not a good place for me. And you have to trust that in a way. That is what we're going to do. Because if you don't do it this way, you will think of all kinds of troubles and impediments, and this is your goal. And and other organizations show it is possible. I have spoken, Reverend Dirk.
Well, yeah, yes. At the beginning, or you talked about trust, and I like it. But I can imagine at the beginning, I don't know, citizens, the city, the authorities, and municipalities, they don't have trust to you, and they don't trust you that trust really works. Now, after the years, they maybe trust you, and so now it's easier for them. And the beginnings were more complicated, I guess.
Yes, they were much more complicated.
Yeah.
But it's a good point you mentioned, because one of the elements of trust is when we started, we decided to organize the whole thing on trust. So one thing is there's a card to go to the bank, and of course we have to make some agreements how it can be used, but in principle anybody can use it. And so there are more things that trust is the main principle, but you have to consider what kind of risks you want or you don't want to take. That one risk is that some people will misuse your trust and use the card for own benefits, or the others, and how often does it occur, and how big do you expect the losses to be. And the other risk is that most of the people that come to you don't feel trusted. So, and I think, I'm not sure, I think maybe one or two participants could have taken the card for also probably small own things, but there has never been a big misuse, and the principle on working in trust is great.
And the fourth tradition is there are no leaders, and that works as well, because then everybody is responsible for Nijskoen. So if someone did something wrong, they knew it was going to change. So this safe environment will change if I mess up. But because everybody is responsible for the safety, for everything, no lines were crossed ever.
Still, can we stay
yes, we can.
at the trust issue at the very first stages? And I think it's I can imagine it's complicated also for the first visitors, that you offer different principles like trust. You are not controlled. You are trusted. It's a tradition. How? Yeah. Was it?
Another important aspect of this is you cannot make them separate. Is you don't have to ask permission to do things. So if you think you want to do some activities possible or use some materials or whatever, people are very used of asking permission. And the answer I gave the most, I think that the first 2 years was, well, I don't know. So people start to asking me if I were being stupid, I would give answers to them. But then I was a participant and they had to find out, and it worked. But it's hard. It was a learning school for me as well, very much. To really not take things over from people.
And with trust and the government, they let us do it because we said nothing will happen, it's going to be safe. But I think they didn't quite believe it. So in the beginning, it was first every 2 weeks we evaluated.
Yeah.
They wanted to, because they thought every week there's going to be trouble here. We knew it's not okay. If that's your question, evaluate every 2 weeks. All right. Well, after the first evaluation, nothing happened. No, we can do it in 4 weeks. So then it was 4 weeks, and well, quite soon it became every half year, and still nothing happened.
In fact, we had to ask, at one point they said we don't need to have these meetings anymore. And then I had to ask for them. I said, yes, but I want them. I want to keep in contact with you and see if we can work together, things like that. But it started from a very angry neighborhood. Yes.
But you have to give a government time as well so they can understand how it works.
Yeah. Everybody has to learn all the principles. That's the point.
How do you deal with the let's say responsibility and trust? Because I can imagine the city want you, I don't know who, the organization, to be responsible for the project, and you say our project is a community that trusts each other. How this goes together?
Well, Tom mentioned already before, one thing is important. We, from the beginning, we said we are a decent organization, and everything we do is within the law. So that's the important thing. You can count on us. You must trust us, but everything we do is in the law. And that's how we started also to work with the community, with the municipality, the government of Helmond. And after, maybe Tom said it was a learning process, I think 2 years, our connecting person said to me, well, we wanted you to do it in a different kind of way than we as a city must treat you in a different kind of way. And for instance, let you monitor the progress in a different kind of way, not write down everything in big reports, for instance, but do it with workshops and with people who tell their life stories. So they had to learn as well to change their normal attitudes to other organizations. That took maybe 2-3 years, but till now the relationship with the municipality is excellent and is very important. You keep it excellent.
Yeah.
You must also be trustworthy in everything you do.
And the municipality changed the way they are used to evaluate projects.
Yes, yes.
They don't ask you to write the report as they ask any other organizations.
No, exactly.
Mm.
And they think with us how to do it in a different way.
Mm.
More accordingly to what is in the self-help world. And of course, you are in 2 worlds. That's another thing we did not already mention. You are constantly in 2 worlds, the world of the self-help with its own traditions and way of thinking, and the system world. And for instance, when you get money from the city, you must be in two worlds, and you must be able to function in both worlds and not be opposite to one. So working together with the city on a good ways from the beginning been very important for us. And now the relationships are good, and Nijskoen is very much valued in the city, and we are involved in everything that has concerning well, the field that we are working in. And I think the most thing that I am proud of the most is how well we are accepted in the directly neighborhood. The children of the neighbors came to play with us, things like that. All the angerness completely gone. The rage. And what is your most successful experience?
Yeah, I think the neighborhood kids came and played, because there was a question: is it going to be safe with all those addicts? But if you got kids from the neighborhood come to play there, it is a safe place. Parents don't let their kids play in a place where it's not safe.
So these traditions are kind of the guidelines for how to work within Nijskoen. Some last questions, remarks? Then I suggest we move on. Martin? Yes, that is Jeroen. That's the name of the artist here, who was in his life in a very difficult situation, but a very good artist, and he made all these chairs, Johnny Cash, Elvis Presley, on delivery. You name it, and he would paint it for you. Tom has one here, but you cannot see it. It's a secret one. No, not secret, but it's the other kind. So, and kun je het even nou weghalen? Yeah, I have things. Okay, oh, that's all. Oh, he also made these records, and he painted them on both sides, and then they were artworks.
Yes.
So we always loved these activities, that things that are not useful anymore are made to something useful. And well, these artists were great in it.
And with the records, what he also made as first the painting, and then he put digits on it and arms, and it became a clock, a working clock.
Oh yeah, a clock, a second clock, yeah. That's why he made clocks out of it. Okay, move on, please. Well, that's what we said to each other. Practically every day we see small or bigger miracles in Nijskoen. And all these wonderful people you see there. I even see my grandson there on the middle page with the music people. And do you have anything to?
Yeah, the photo on the right-hand side. That guy, he made it. He didn't call it art, and we hang it up and put it on the wall as well. And when we talked about it, he mentioned it was so nice. I could get a drill and make it, and nobody asked me, what are you going to do with it? They just let me. Yeah. And he was, as you can see, very proud of it.
Yeah. And completely on the left, you see me next to a doll. And you cannot see it very well on this picture, but the doll is completely dressed with stamps, post stamps. So the artist must have spent hours and hours licking and sticking. And we call this the most licked woman from Helmond, and she surely is. There must have been, I think, hundreds, maybe thousands of stamps on her. I call it a miracle. Okay, next one. Yes, that's another part of not to keep to so much of a program, but let them grow. The man on the left with the balloon on his head, he came in, and Tom had one balloon and he had made this, and I put it on his head. And it was such a success that after that we had a workshop folding balloons, which was for several times very successful. So it just came up like from nowhere. So do most things emerge. You do not plan them, they come and you go with them.
And with that, we learned together when we came together to make the balloon animals. I put a YouTube video on. So we all practice how we're going to make it. So we were all learning from each other.
Yeah, nobody really knew how to make them in the beginning. But we gave a workshop about it. Okay. Next one. Yes, Nijskoen is very colorful. Some people say, well, it brings a lot of stimuli, and that is probably also true. So, but just because the colors, but you must understand how it became. We started with white walls, blank walls, and one participant started to paint. And after some days, he said, now I've done my share. And then another took it over. But the first one started with pink, and the second one started with green. And so it became a very colorful thing. And we even, as we'll see, show in later slides, that we did something with the ceilings. But in a way, we think everything is art. We can make art out of everything, and we live that in Nijskoen. Okay, next.
Oh,
sorry.
Yeah, I remember the board, what you see with the shoes on it. Yeah, there. We didn't knew about it, but participants made it kind of in secret, and they gave it to us to thank us for the place that it became.
Yeah.
For them to be safe there. So that says a lot.
Yes. Okay, move on. This is the ceiling. It was white when we started it, and once we had a group of students, and we wanted them to evaluate their time with Nijskoen, and instead of writing down the evaluations on a paper, we invited them to take one of these boards out of the ceiling, or someone did it for them, and to evaluate in a drawing. And this was the beginning of a new development. And it's a big space with Nijskoen, and the greater part is already the ceiling has been painted on. But then the man who owns this building came in, it's now more than a year ago, and he said to me, how are you going to bring it back in the original situation as you leave this? Which is obligated. If we lease it, it should be like it was, completely different. And I said, well, we just turn on these things and then the white side comes up. But that was not possible. That doesn't how it works. And he found out that it took 10,000 euro to completely renew the ceiling. And at the end of this year, we had 5,000 euro left, which we could give back to the city. But we offered it to our landlord to buy his ceiling for 5,000 euros, and he was okay with it, so we bought it. And now it's our ceiling, and now we are completely a living museum. Thank you. Hey, that's sweet. May I play chess? Do you ever play chess?
No, it's just for the pictures.
Not your question. Well, I do play chess sometimes. Where you can make 1,000 pictures of passions of people, of course. And on the right, the music has always been very important with Nijskoen, but we did everything from knitting to God knows what. Lately, there was a person who reads tarot cards. I have no idea exactly what it is, but she can predict the future with it. So if it's a person's passion and he wants to teach it to another person, well, then you're at the right place. You have something to add?
No.
Then move on. Yes, in the middle, that talented little guy who plays so good piano is my grandson. This was actually the first time he played piano. On the right side, you recognize Tom as the right wingman guitar player. On the left side, I'm singing with Shirley. We make a lot of music, and with Shirley we did kind of, well, let's say workshops. People could visit them, and Shirley would tell their life story, and we would make music that is important for her in her life. And it were great meetings we did, and all about music.
And the picture on the right-hand side, it's in a different location actually. It's at a, what's that in Stelling?
Mental health.
Yeah, it's a place for mental health. And they said the environment, what you feel when you're in Neeskoen, can you bring it to us? So one day a week, I went to that place, and although it was different and it looked different, I kept the traditions there. So people where Neeskoen was too far from, they can go over there, and we played music, and it was a safe place as well. And we tried to do it on more different locations. So we have one, our own hotspot, which is our building, and then go to other places as well to carry out the thought of Neeskoen.
Yes. Okay, questions, remarks? If not, move on. Yes, that is of course one of the secrets why organizations like Neeskoen really work. I have had myself a very difficult period in my life with very much drinking, and I recovered in a way from that. But when I came to Neeskoen, and I was also before that, of course, I met Tom and other self-help workers. And the joy of being able to speak about things like that without being judged, and to know for sure that people will never talk about you with others, is so liberating. So that is, of course, one of the main reasons why in organizations like Neeskoen work so well. If they do, it's because they really give people opportunity to share their experiences in a trusted, safe environment. On the right, you see the painted how heet dat?
Serenity Prayer.
Serenity Prayer. You can read it for yourself, but it's what's read also in the self-help groups. Sharing is caring. Yes, can we move on, Martin, you think? Well, we're now going to do a step higher, not only specifically look at Neeskoen. So it's the good presentation, Martin. Now I'm sure this was not in the other one. So now we're going to speak more about the main principles above, not only about Neeskoen, but about the things but also regarding all kind of recovery initiatives. Why do they work? Well, I think this is summarization of things that we already came across till now. Absolute anonymity is one of the key ingredients. No information is required to enter the facility, so you don't have a diagnosis like is necessary in a lot of activities for people with mental problems. No information is required, so no information is written down. There will absolutely safety in regarding that what is in this room will stay in this room. We call it the bubble that's above the whole building. And what we share with each other on personal information will always be between us. There are no differences in hierarchy. A coordinator is nothing more or less than a participant who coordinates. Like participants can have all kinds of tasks if they want. So no one is the boss. There are no managers. So participants, Tom already mentioned it, decide to gather over the activities. I understand, and I found out that's something you have to work on very hard, but it's a very important ingredient. In the red, you see on the right something that I think are very important for the sanctuary. Everybody can join everything. So when we were at Neeskoen, there was no door that was locked, and there was the point was when I was sitting and talk with people, and you would come in, you could always sit next to us and never ask, well, are you in conversation? Can I sit with you or not? With Neeskoen, that's not possible. We have no secrets. And there's nothing after lock and barrel. So no secret information that only one person has a key of. And these are very essential elements, I think, of a sanctuary, whether it's a living museum or what else. So maybe this is something we need to look at a bit more specific. Are there additions? People have other things that could be important, or questions about it?
Well, I have something to add as well about no information required. In the beginning, the government wanted us to write down a lot. Who is coming? What are the names? And we had to give them time as well to get used to that we don't give names. We only give numbers. Did you receive that 150 people that we asked? Yeah, we did. And who are they? Well, you're not going to know from us. But they have to get used to it as well, because, well, you probably know a government, they want to control things. They want to monitor things, that it's working. So give them time to trust as well.
Clear enough, I think? Or do we need to have some more time to contemplate? Well, then we can move on. Well, some points about how to sustain it, how to keep it living and well, which is not always easy. Connected to the former slide, I realized that I was asked very often tips about that. What is in your experience, very important in creating and sustaining a facility like that? And actually now my main point would be, if you want to do it good from the beginning. So be very precise in what you want to do from the beginning. For instance, Tom mentioned we do not give any information. It's hard when you have done this for a year and then realize, well, actually it's not fitting in a facility. We want to do it without this information, then you will have a lot of troubles. But when you don't do it from the beginning, it's easier. You must keep your back straight. Of course, the municipality will say, well, we need to know that, and we need to know whether they come from Helmond, because when they come from other cities, then the other cities must pay for them. That's why we don't give any information, but do it from the beginning. Keep your back straight.
And as well with partners as well, if we had a phone call, was, I don't know, just the name, John there today. Our answer would be, well, ask John. Well, what did he say? Well, he said he was there. Well, then he was there.
Yeah.
No information.
Okay, we'll go into this point in the next slide so you can move on. So what are relevant partners? Well, of course, the list can be much longer, but the neighbors you should think as the most relevant partners. If you're well connected in the neighborhood, you're very successful. And then it spreads out to the rest. So try to be involved in anything that happens in the neighborhood. Involve the neighborhood in things that happens to you. When you give a party, invite the neighbors, etc. But don't be an institute that people walk like with the hands before the eyes. They don't want to be seen. Be open and transparent and inviting. Of course, the city, well, we spoke about that. That's a process. Even when the city has asked us like they did, it's still a process of working together. But I'm proud that we did it. And now, in a way, I have left Nijskoen, but I still have very well relationships with the city of Helmond. They stay. And of course, every other professional that is working in your area, your main attitude is we want to work with everybody who works on more or less the same. If we can learn from each other or get benefit from co-working, then we are open to that. And that has always been also the attitude of Nijskoen. So before you ask the children of the neighborhood, you can also take your own children. We did it. We brought our wives, our husbands, our children, our grandchildren, our neighbors, and our friends. And this made that the neighborhood also came in because they saw husbands and wives and children and neighbors. So they saw it was just a group of normal people being together. And a success was, of course, when the mayor and the alderman, who is responsible for Nijskoen, came to eat. So invite them and see it as a success as they come. And of course, there are more relevant partners. Yes?
Yeah, what happened as well when the mayor and the alderman came to eat, we invited all participants as well.
Of course.
And I heard back that some of them were really, really proud because I sat next to the mayor.
Yeah.
But just, yeah, everybody together. And we could do this because we had to go rec. There are no labels, everybody's the same.
And the mayor is also just Ellie as she comes in. Everybody says Ellie to her and she's fine with that. Do you think there are, in your situation, more relevant participants that you have to work with together? Of course, all the non-official, you want to say, Martin?
No, just say the question once more for me.
The question?
Yes.
I have mentioned some partners you could, I think it's important to work with, but what more partners could there be for you?
Yep.
Who you could benefit from?
No.
But you could think of all kinds of organizations which are not in the mental health field, but in your city. What's toneelspelen? An acting club, for instance, or any other things that I know a facility in Holland that is in the middle of a mall with all kinds of shops, but still they have their own hairdresser and they have their own things that are also in the neighborhood around them. So the working together with probably the people in your neighborhood are also organized in a kind of committee, work with them. Try to find relevant partners that are in the same frame of mind as you are. Support each other. There's a whole system of non-official organizations in a city like Helmond. They are not by professionals, but people, idealistic people who do things from their own heart, and they do sometimes tremendously good work.
And for us, we connected as well with other initiatives, like other living museums, and they became relevant partners as well because we learned from each other.
Yeah. Make a network for supporting organizations. Okay, move on. Or, okay. Yes, this is the core of your existence. We already mentioned it several times. And I added one point to it: keep your back straight. If this is what you want to be and what you do, keep it, and you will have a lot of waves. In the beginning, the city was much critical more to us, and they asked every kind of things of us. But you have to be sure of what you are and what is important to you. That is why you're here. And that is what you protect. In a attitude of mild cooperation with everybody, but within that to keep your back straight. This was Reverend Dirk again.
I have a question.
Yes.
You said it's important to have a clear mission from very beginning, but sometimes I feel it's important to invite participants to create our own mission together. And I feel this very complicated because at the beginning, there were maybe just few people starting the initiative. And did you have a clear vision, mission, or was it a process where the participants were invited in?
It's a very good point. There can be different starting points. In the starting point of Nijskoen, we had a plan. This plan involved the building that we needed. And we had very much trouble in finding this building. And when we got it, we immediately rented it. and we just worked from the plan. So from the we were then 4 or 5 people. We had a clear mission, yes, but we had no participants. But when you are able to make your vision with your participants, you're one step ahead. If the situation makes it possible that you do so, great, then you have a very good start. And if it's not possible, you can always have sometimes meetings to talk about why we are here on this earth and how we are doing together. This is a very healthy thing to repeat, but if it's possible to do it from the beginning to make the vision together, it will be a much stronger vision.
Yep.
Okay, next slide, maybe.
Sorry, one more question.
Of course, I will all the time.
If you don't, sorry. You talked about the network and the sort of how other organizations can be helpful for you. So what you can offer to other organizations in this network, or what are you offering?
Oh, that's a good one. You're good this afternoon, Martin.
No,
from the beginning,
huh?
And of course, Tom knows that as well. We had a group of people we called the Friends of Nijskoon. Friends. These were our friends. And they were representatives from the most of the partners we were discussing about before this. So the other mental health organizations, the homeless people, the Salvation Army, youth, some more, the cultural work in Helmond. And the aim for Nijskoon was help us to become a good member of the city, because we are new here and we need your help to find our ways. So we asked them for help, because we already knew long before that if you want to cooperate with someone, you must ask him to help you. And they were willing to do that. And of course, we were also able to give things in return. And what we could do is, well, we could have workshops and meetings about self-help, and we did. For the Salvation Army, we organized a meeting, a New Year's meeting, because they had people who were clients from the Salvation Army who peed in the garden and who made a lot of disturbance in the neighborhood. And in this meeting of the Friends of Nijskoon, it came as a point of the discussion. And someone said, well, we should see a kind of prevention plan that they stop with these things. And we understood this is not what but our expertise is not on working with all kind of difficult, we are not the police, let me put it this way. So we said, no, we should do it another way. We will make a very nice New Year's party. You will invite all your neighbors who are so angry with you. We will make food for everybody, and we will bring music, and we will try to see it as a point of connection with the neighborhood. And we did, and it was very successful. A lot of neighbors came there, and so this kind of mentality we can also bring to other organizations in different ways. But then you have to have a certain level of respect from them. They must see you as an organization who is able to do that. And that is what we, of course, after some time, reached, that we were respected by the other organizations and sometimes asked us for help. And we say always yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, next one. Well, this is more how you do it in your own initiatives. Actually, the most things we already discussed. Be a good role model. Do what you expect from others. Keep your back straight. Believe in yourself. Believe in your principles, even when you're in troubled times. talk with each other about these principles on a regular basis. That's very important. If you don't do so, it will be in after a year kind of normal activity day center, which a lot of kind of organizations could have had. But this is not what it should be. It should not be a normal day activity center. It should be a recovery center. And therefore, you need to keep the principles alive. Do things together. So the last point, for instance, every new activity that was started with Nijskoen, we trained in a way the people who did it to do it to the Nijskoen way. So whether they do Tai Chi or knitting or sewing or working with our hands or whatever, if you're going to do a workshop with Nijskoen, how do you connect this to recovery? This is very important. Otherwise, it will after a year, it will just be a normal center. And you need to be able to have some criticism. You should ask for it. How can we all together improve?
How do you, yep.
Yes.
How do you do that regular discussing your principles, your traditions?
Well, we have for that what we call bubbles. So these are regular meetings with participants, and there is some structure in it. There's also a possibility to share, and there's also a possibility to you should, in a meeting like that, not bring 10 other principles, but one principle or two. And how anonymity, how do you feel that we're doing with anonymity now? And usually that is discussed because there's a reason to. But otherwise you must create it. Let's sit together. I don't feel so much anymore for all things in a regular schedule. If you want to discuss it or exchange things, do it now or tomorrow, not plan it next week. That's how we did it in Nijskoen.
And who is the thermometer? Who is this sensitive persons? Who are the sensitive persons who like feel that the traditions are challenged or being challenged?
Well,
no, there are no leaders, let's say.
Yes, but in a group with no leaders, there are always informal leaders. Yeah. It's impossible that a group itself doesn't create a kind of working structure. And this can also be that some people are asked more advice than others because they have the experience for it. Everybody participates in his own way. And if the way of Tom is that we have a lot of experience with some things, it's completely good that we were asked about it, as long as we don't impose our solution on others. So yeah, that's one thing. And another thing is you must, of course, try to bring all participants in this process of thinking. The more it's a little group, the more it's not working. So we try to broaden it. And yes, that goes up and down, of course, with people coming and going. It's actually a constant point of attention. Do we work according to our principles?
And there are no leaders, but Dirk and Kid and I, well, we felt responsible for it to be safe. So during the day, if we noticed some people were talking about the same thing, then we could ask, well, you want to talk about it?
I have done a lot of activities that I went with participants of Nijskoen to official organizations. I don't know directly the labor bureau and things like that, because I'm not scared when I talk to someone who wears a suit and a tie. But some people are in this situation not used to. So I went with a lot of this kind of meetings, and this was just because it was also because of my job, one of the things that I could do good. So everybody does what he can, and I used my own experience here also in, but that doesn't mean I was the leader. I did what I could do. Okay, next one. Is er een tekst of staat die erboven?
Yeah.
The pictures are always on the text. And fun is the secret. Yes. Okay. I had hair in this picture. I think there's another one after that. Can you?
This the second guy from the right is the one who made the doll with the stamps.
Oh yeah, the licking doll, licked doll. Oh no, I think there was one more, but I can say something about it. How to sustain it is also one of the principles is that we have no leaders and we are all equal. And this principle is the first one to get killed when things go wrong. And that has also to do, when it goes wrong, it has also, in my opinion, often to do with egos. People who do not really want or are able to work with the principle of being of equal value and think they are more than others and oppose their, and especially when they are already in a kind of official role, it's easier, but I've seen it a lot of times. We have to, that's in self-help groups, it's always a point of discussion there. So people learn to be modest in self-help groups, to not use their ego. You must be grateful that other people give you opportunities instead of ruling over other people's. But of course, the maintaining of the principles is one important thing to sustain it, and the other is to keep the egos within proportions. We have spoken.
What do you mean?
We are ready.
For questions.
For questions, yeah. We are ready with the presentation, but we have all time for questions or maybe people have started their own initiative and want to talk about that. Sharing experience is very fine. There's a lot of time for that.
Hello, can I ask some questions maybe?
Yes, of course.
Okay, I wasn't asking when you were presenting your organizations because I was still gathering my thoughts and I think I'm still doing that. So maybe you said something about these questions that I will ask about and I didn't hear, okay? So please be
No
gentle
problem.
with me.
No problem.
Okay, I still don't understand. Does your organization work like a daily center? Is it opened every day at some hours or?
Okay. It's open practically all day, not all the weekend because we could not have enough people to open and close it and set coffee and things like that, make coffee. But we specifically don't call it a day activity center because that means that you come from a certain kind of role, like a client who needs to have some purpose in his life and then go to a daily activity center. Actually, the main context is that it's a free space where people can work on their own passion, whatever their passion might be, and find people with the same experience who help them with this.
Okay, so you could say like this is a community living room. Could you also call it?
Yes, certainly, but there's more than a living room. But it's a living room, and everybody is welcome there. So yes.
Okay. So who has the keys? Is there like someone who opens this every day? I wasn't really sure. How do you manage? As I understood,
you must realize in the evening there are self-help groups. And they have their own keys because the facility is closed at 5 or 6 o'clock, I think. And I think together maybe even 10 or 15 people have keys because for the opening and closing today there are people and for certain activities. And all the self-help group have keys, so there are a lot of keys, a whole organization.
Okay, so there are many collectives that work under one roof. Could we say it like that?
No. It's only, well, actually 2 collectives, Nijskoen as a facility and the self-help groups. But that means still a lot of people use the building, so need keys.
Okay. Thank you. I'm still gathering my thoughts, so maybe I will ask something.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, maybe those numbers are important for me as well. Just I saw the pictures. I haven't visited actually Naas School. I only follow you at Facebook and stuff. How big is the estate? It looks like big room with a lot of niches and.
Inside it's 400 square meter. And outside it's also 400 square meter. So that means 400 square meter is quite a big space.
Yeah.
And outside, most of it is stone, but there's a part of it is a garden. And inside, as we made it, there were, except for the music room, there were no really separated niches. Yeah, maybe some places more like corners or things like that. But now I think there's one room that is completely closed. But if we were there, we would not allow it. Nothing should be closed, you know. But things change, as we can see. But it's a big, big thing. And it was pure coincidence because we had already had 2 other facilities promised to us, but they didn't go on in the last weeks. And now we came here, we said, we'll do it. Whatever happens, whatever the consequences are, if we don't take this, we will never get anything. And we did it. And well, we had some disturbance in the beginning, but...
And that was a learning process for us as well, because what Dirk mentioned, the other 2 we didn't get. We made the official way according to the government. So informed the neighborhood as well. Well, they didn't knew what we were going to do there. So they complained already. So when we found this place, we changed it around. We didn't go to the neighborhood or anything. We just rented it and started. And yeah.
And the next time we would do it exactly the same.
Don't ask, just do it.
Do it, take the consequences, deal with them, and go on.
Yeah, and maybe one more question to help me to imagine how the ordinary day looks like. If I just wonder if it's more like you have more often like one group or one something activity group of people, or is it more like in a pub, like more different smaller groups of people during the day doing different things, or how can I imagine what's happening during the day?
Yeah, just like example, it's one big room, and the example with the balloon animals. In one place we were making those, and maybe 5 meters apart from us there was another group knitting. Yeah. And we didn't disturb each other because it was big enough to do it like that. And yeah.
I think, well, we have both separated us now, but I think it's still the same. That there is a certain group of people who's there every day. Regarding what? And then some days have specific activities that are always on these days. So that attracts another kind of people who come for that. And yeah, some things just happen. And you can, for instance, there's a Thursday afternoon specifically for music, the afternoon. But if people want to play it on a Monday, it's also very well. So we go a little bit with how it comes and goes. And of course, later on, there's always a need for structure, and we have to kind of push it back. For instance, with eating together. It just started like this. Someone said, hey, I am alone this afternoon. Can I cook with someone together? Yes, said 5 other people. Oh, that's a good idea. Who does the shopping? I will. Who does the cooking? I will. And then this is how it came. And later on, you had to fill your name in a letter, you know. So when you don't really watch it very closely, it will become already kind of bureaucratical thing. And it must be kind of, if you want to cook and eat, just do it. And for instance, the same with rehabilitation and recovery plans. You don't need to make a plan for everything. If you can do it, just do it. So if you want to buy a DVD in the weekend, don't, and it's easy for you to do it, don't put it in the plan, just go the weekend and buy a DVD. So that's kind of spirit that's also necessary in a facility. Kind of active, don't do so difficult spirit. Is that correctly? Don't do so difficult spirit. I learned from that also that it's much more possible than I always thought. Can I tell one more anecdote? Yes. There was a woman coming from us from the youth, from a youth organization in Helmond, and she wanted permission. They had a big cupboard, yes, with children clothes, and at regular times in another location, mothers with no money but with children could come there and take out the clothes and also toys, and they wanted to have the same cupboard with Nijskoen. And so we went for a meeting with the manager of this organization. And this manager said, oh, it's a good idea to do it with Nijskoen. Can you please make me a project plan? And Kees, our colleague, said, we already have a project plan. Oh, the manager said, and how does it look, this project plan? And Kees said, we carpent a cupboard and we put clothes in it. And that is how it happens. Sometimes the shortest way is just to do it. Reverend Dirk again.
With eating as well, at one point a guy came in and he used to work as a professional chef and was a really, really good cook. And that was his passion, to cook. So we were very happy that he came in. So he could do his passion, and we had great dinners.
Yeah. It's nice when one man's passion is good for the other man. And it happens a lot. People also learn how nice it is to do something for another person, which is really a great experience. So people don't look at you anymore as a drug addict or whatever, but as a person who is friendly and willing to do and give. That's also a part of the Oasis. That is what people can experience with Nijskoen and other initiatives.
I'm encouraging other colleagues to ask questions. I don't want to be overwhelming everyone.
Was of course so very clear.
Are there more recovery centers across the country, or is this like a unique one?
Oh, there are more, and they have the same principles, and every is a little bit different, but yeah, the principles are the same to keep it safe.
But no one has such a nice coat rack.
And we do visit each other as well.
Mm-hmm. Did they also have to, like, you were talking when you started that you had to go to the government and deal with them about the finances, right? Mm-hmm. Were you like the first ones, like the pioneers of these recovery centers, or did every recovery center have to go through this with their governments?
Well, we were not the first, at least not in Holland. We think that we did some things in Nijskoen that you do not see in the others, but still they all have a lot in common. But it, of course, depends on the starting situation. The city of Helmond did a tender. Do you know what a tender is? Can someone explain it? Martin, you know what it is?
Well, just had a project, and organization had to compete for it somehow.
Yes, exactly.
Who
The city
offers
has a
better
goal,
solution.
and in this case, the city of Helmond said we want to boost the level of self-help and recovery working in Helmond. And we ask a lot of all organizations can impede, but they specifically asked us to participate. And they asked us, and when we did, and we made a project plan, they gave it to us. But this is, of course, a very specific situation. The city asked us, so they were already very positive. We didn't have to fight ourselves in. And then we made a plan, and that was based on the combination of what we saw in England with the Recovery College, and in America, where they call it a Recovery Learning Community. Because the difference is in Nijskoon, the community factor is more. I was yesterday in a recovery college in Eindhoven, and actually the only thing they do is giving workshops and trainings. But they miss the common ground you find in Nijskoon, where you come and drink a cup of coffee, don't have to do anything, meet people, which is a very important part of the... For us, the workshop is not the most important.
And in Eindhoven, what Dirk talked about is Eindhoven is a place next to Helmond. They started a recovery college as well, and they had less difficulty with the government because they saw what happened in Helmond.
Yeah. The city of Eindhoven came to visit Nijskoon several times. And now they ask me to do things in Eindhoven. So it's good for my career as well, although I'm retired.
And how many visitors are there daily or in a week, in a month? How many people come?
Jij hebt ze bijgehouden.
Hundreds per week.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Not in the beginning, of course, but in the beginning we had days that one person came in, and then Dirk and I just sat there all day.
Yeah,
playing music.
That's how it started. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
I can imagine that people in such a center or not center in Nijskoon have to be good in welcoming or that sort of attitude or tuning. Do you how do you, I don't know, not practice, not teach, how do you cultivate it, that welcoming something, if there is something like that?
Well, people don't all need to have the skills. How you cultivate it by doing it yourself, of course. And there is no need that everybody can do the same things instead of that. So some people have more the role, and they took it themselves to introduce new visitors. And as they do it more, they get their own story. And others never do that and would never do it. So that's how it organically, but of course we do speak sometimes when a new person comes in, a new visitor, there should always be someone who, that is what we speak about, yes. You could call it teaching, but it's like enhancing how important it is that everybody is welcome here and that everybody can have a role in that.
And the guy Dirk told about that was screaming in the beginning and not at the end. What he did when he came in, he drank coffee, lay down on a couch, and slept. Yeah. And later we bought a stretcher so he could lay on a stretcher. But that's fine too. If you want to come in and sleep, hey, if you feel safe there, please do.
Yeah.
And you mentioned maybe different roles people can have. And if you have names for those roles, I'm interested in what sort of roles,
well, for example,
people can have.
Yeah, with music, we played music all day in our own studio. And on Thursday, Dirk told, we had a music day. So, and we had a stage as well. We built a stage. And then we got on stage and we performed the things that we learned through the week. And you can play guitar, that's fine, but same as with painting and presenting it, then you're an artist. The same with music as well. If you're on a stage and other people are listening to it and they applaud, you feel it, what's happening. You're a musician. That's one role.
Yep.
There are a small amount of roles, but they can come and go a bit. One role now officially is the role of coordinator, because there's a coordinator. Before that, there was no coordinator, and then there was one, and then not. But this is a paid coordinator, and it is meant to be a coordinator and not a manager. There's also one person we mentioned who is receiving the visitors, and in good Dutch we call it a greeter. That's English. That's from the self-help groups. They have greeters. So you can organize it in different ways, of course. And this man liked to do that, and he did it, and he improved his story over and over every time he did it. So it was for him also a kind of nice recovery activity. But that is a role that emerges then. And it's not even an official role in a way. It's never written down, but everybody knows it. And well, we had a participant, and he's now there anymore. But as Tom said, the chef, he was the cook, of course. Nobody denied that. And you can also say we don't have a specific cook. We work with all participants who want to cook also very well. So these things can have a variety.
Maybe I remember it was not said today about the tradition number 7 jar with money. If people want to start some specific project, buy a paint for something, and do you have municipal money for it, or is it from the collection, or are they encouraged to invest their own money? How do you do
that? They're not encouraged to invest their own money. Au contraire, no, that's not what it's meant to be. My experience was with the money from the government, we could very well adjust and maintain. So now I don't have this role anymore, but I advised not to ask for more money, because what you now have is enough to do what you need to do in a regular thing. You can also find other sources of money, because that's very well, but not to be so dependent of the government. And the more money it becomes, the more the risk is that someday some people in the city, then there will be other people than there are sitting now, and they will say, where is all that money going to? And is that well spent? I never hear anything of Nijskoen anymore. So you don't need more money than you don't need. Old Dutch saying. Je hebt niet meer geld nodig dan je nodig hebt. Dat is waar. That's true.
I would like to ask something, and maybe you said it, I can't listen all the time. If the psychiatrists come to visit to your community center and see the activity day or everything, and maybe recommend to clients, their clients in their in the care, or how do work the connection with the psychiatrist?
Okay. Well, on different ways. First of all, it's important to understand that Nijskoen is completely not a treatment facility. We don't treat people, and they're not here for treatment. If they need treatment, we advise them to go to a treatment facility. People are here to work on their passion. And as we have found out, this is a very good treatment in a way, that symptoms reduce and things like that, but that's not our goal. That's not what we ask. Second, we have on several levels contact with, for instance, the psychiatric facility in Helmond. And we invite also the several levels, so that the top management has been there, and sometimes they change, so you want to speak to the new director and things like that. Psychiatrists are here rarely. They have been here, but when they're here, they also just on first name basis. They're not here because they're the psychiatrist of one of the participants. That's not her role when she's with Nijskoen. That she must realize. And we don't talk about the treatment unless the client wants to, but that I never met that the client wants to talk with me and the psychiatrist together. We did ask psychiatrists sometimes to come, but that was because we thought it was necessary that they really understood what Nijskoen is. So one psychiatrist worked at in an addiction clinic, and she called me and she said, well, one of our clients is on our way to you, but he's in a closed ward. He has a kind of judicial rule that he cannot move on his own. So when he comes to you, will you call me and tell me he is with you? He said, no, we don't do that kind of things. That's not our role. If you want to know, ask him and trust him. And then I said, please come and visit us. And she came with someone of the probation. They worked with probation together. This was very useful. They had no idea what we're doing and how important our facility was for her clients. So this is on invitation basis, but I invite everybody, but they do not, the psychiatrists themselves, I think, rarely come from themselves. Or anonymous, that can also. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you. I hope that the connection is functioning like you said. It sounds really good.
Okay, thank you.
And what happened as well, it did happen that either a psychiatrist or a psychologist came in. We had a client who was with us, and we heard them talk them in a way you only hear it within a setting of, for example, a mental health care organization. You got those specific words that you don't hear otherwise. And then we would ask them, please talk normal. We don't want this atmosphere here. And yeah, and if they didn't do it, we would ask, well, if you don't gonna do it, please go, because it's not safe here for the people.
I was once with a conversation between the client and his mental health professional, and his mental health professional said to the client, you don't understand it because you have an autistic disorder. And then I intervened and I said, that's not what we do here. We don't talk in roles. He is here as his name, and you are also here in your name, but you're not here to tell him that he has an autistic disorder. And in this case, it was a client who was several times thrown out of their organization because he was making so much noise there and got in fighting. But when he came to us, he was sitting just in his telephone, sitting all day doing games. Nobody bothered him, but he came to eat with us. He came to drink with us. He knew everybody on first name basis. He knows my wife on first name basis. Still now, after several years, and he was just sitting there in his working is his telephone. Just letting him do what he wanted to do was a very great success. And it wasn't bothering us that he had an autistic disorder. We didn't notice that. So we have to also to educate the professionals sometimes in a polite manner.